So then we go on to episode 2, and this episode is called What It Takes to Be a Hero. And we start off with the sludge villain. We can just see that he's escaping. We see where he's going. So then we see Bakugo and his groupies. And even his friends are saying that they think Bakugo is too mean to Izuku. But Bakugo, because I just wrote arse. He thinks that it's Izuku's fault and not his.
And a bit before that, we got to see All Might deflate, and Deku's like, what? he looked up and he saw Small Might, and then we cut to Bakugo.
So the difference in the subbed and the dubbed that I mentioned quickly earlier is that in the subtitled version, after one of his cronies suggests going to the arcade, they then suggest going out in front of the station where there's plenty of prey. But then in the dubbed version, they say that after going to the arcade, they should go to a bar and pick up some ladies.
I think in the manga, they wanted to smoke or something.
The ladies one is such a weird choice. Smoking would make much more sense, especially when Bakugo gets so angry and he says, no, we can't do that, you idiot. If you catch me, they won't let me in. I mean, I know that obviously being in a bar, though he doesn't say that they'd be drinking and they look young, it'd have to be a dodgy bar that women probably wouldn't go into for them to get served.
They're in middle school. What bar would let them in?
Yeah. I mean, they could go in and just have orange juice or something, but I mean, it was just such a strange choice to say, let's go to a bar and pick up some ladies. But anyway, Bakugo, instead of saying no because it's a douchebag thing to do, he says no. If I get caught, UA won't let me in. And that's when the sludge villain appears and we just see him behind Bakugo. And then we cut back to a screaming Izuku who just can't take skeletal All Might.
And he thinks he's
so then All Might goes on to that it's like someone holding in their stomach at the pool, which it's really not, but yeah. Fair enough. I guess someone is trying to hide their true appearance. So when Izuku doesn't believe him, I quite like that, because when we're younger, a lot of the time people that we look up to, we kind of see them as like 2D people, and we don't really see of their faults. We just admire them. We think they're so great. And then I started to think, if Bakugo had seen All Might's form the way that Bakugo is now at the start of the series, he might have disregarded him. I think he might have been like, "You're not the strong All Might that I like," and he would have. I think he may have just thrown his admiration away because he couldn't. I don't think he would be able to accept this person who's so strong actually is a real person and has struggles. But because it's Izuku, he doesn't believe it at first, but then he doesn't disregard him. I think Bakugo probably really would have done.
Yeah, Bakugo probably would have thrown a hissy fit, or it would have maybe shattered his world a bit. He might have just had to I don't know what the world is anymore because I based what I thought was strong on you, and now you're not strong. So what is strength? I don't know. It might have been good for Bakugo in a mind-melting way.
Yeah, it could have been good for him, but he wouldn't have responded the way Izuku did at all.
And All Might says, "Don't write about it online, even accidentally." I was like, All Might should have just been like, okay, I'm just gonna hope and punching you really hard will erase your memory, or have someone follow me around to mind wipe Quirk or something. But All Might's very nice. He's please don't tell anybody.
Yeah, I guess he's not going to punch a child, is he?
All Might's too good.
He smiles to hide his fear, and that he's very scared, and not just to create the image of someone that's strong and is going to save them, but also to hide his own nerves. He then answers and says that you need power to fight villains, and because Izuku doesn't have a quirk, he can't fight villains or become a hero. I thought that was really interesting because it shows that All Might is thinking of the only way to have that sort of power is to have a quirk, and it made me really want a Batman character to turn up.
Same. I think some people were really disappointed that wasn't what Izuku was. I think even originally, I think the author was thinking about that, but then he changed his mind. But it would have been cool. But I still like the direction they went in. I do want there to be, I guess there kind of is in Vigilante.
Yes, I was going to say that with Knuckle Duster. But I'm so sure there'll be a Batman character in the future. I'm so sure there will be.
And we also learned that All Might's injury that he got from a villain 5 years ago, he lost half of his respiratory organs, which is like, so I guess like a lung.
Yeah, it could either be one lung or some of the lobes, like the bottom lobes from each lung. But because it's on one side, I'm guessing it's most likely that he lost a lung. And his whole stomach.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. I was just like, I guess maybe they could put it in a fake
So all
stomach?
the stomach really does is it digests food. Most of the digestion. I mean, some of the digestion is done. Like a lot of the digestion is done in your mouth and things. But to digest it down to be very small, that's just what the stomach does. So he must have to have, I'm guessing, like a puree diet or something. So then the food just goes down to the intestines, and that's where things are like filtered out.
Yeah. I think we've actually seen All Might eat.
No, we've seen him go to have lunch with people, but we haven't seen what he's eating. But I'm guessing he must just have to have like soft food. Probably things like red meat and things like that. I'm guessing he can't have that, or he can only have it in moderation, because they take like red meat. I think it can take up to like 7 days to go through your digestive system. So if you don't have a stomach, that's going to be even longer.
We learned he only works as a hero for 3 hours a day.
He then suggests that Izuku joins the police. He said that it's really good to have a dream, but they need to be realistic. So that's echoing what his mum said, and I ship him and his mum. Izuku's mum and All Might. They're saying the same. They're saying the same thing, really. They're encouraging him to have a dream, but just one that's more realistic, and I like that.
And All Might's not being mean either here. It's like, that's actually like what you should tell someone. They don't have a quirk. There's other ways to be a hero. It's not just like a one-way
that's
street.
True. So then, as All Might goes to leave, he realises that he doesn't have the sludge villain. And we go then to the sludge villain and Bakugo. And Bakugo's being really entwined in him there. The police are there as well. They're cordoning off the area. We see Death Arms again. He goes to punch the sludge, but his punch is absorbed and he's thrown into a wall. We see some other two miscellaneous heroes who are never given a name, and we never see their quirk, but they're there. They arrive and they can do nothing. Bakugo is still fighting to get out, and he's still arrogant. He's saying, "You messed with the wrong guy." He's trying to fight back, but to no avail. Mount Lady then turns up, and she says that she can't fit through to get there. I guess she could shrink down to her regular size, but she must only have the 2 sizes. She must have massive or regular, because otherwise, even if she did go through to her normal form, if she can't go to like an in-between size, she wouldn't really be any use anyway. She'd just destroy the buildings. So that was interesting.
Okay, I wonder if she'll have if she can go tiny as well.
Oh, that would be interesting, yeah. If we see, I'm sure because these guys are seen straight off the bat, I'm sure we'll see more of them, because they're the first ones that are introduced. Then we see Cammy Woods. He arrives and saves a load of civilians, but he says that he can't really do anything because of the fire. Backdraft is also there trying to put out the fire. And I like again that this is showing that even though people have these superpowers, there's still limits to them. So Horikoshi he's introduced the different roles of heroes. He's introduced a few different ones, and he's introduced the limits that they have. The heroes then decide to leave the sludge monster and focus on saving the civilians, because they've got like a lack of, they're not very versatile. They can't deal with him, so they're just not even trying. They're just going to wait for someone else to turn up.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel bad for the kid, but wait a bit longer. Wait for somebody with a suitable quirk, and that's good. But like, they're saving people, but also it's kind of
they're not even trying.
But there's nothing they can do. I guess you can kind of see the mentality of people. They're not necessarily thinking All Might will come, but just that they're not really working together that much.
Yeah, if they work together more, I'm sure they could. Like, if Backdraft maybe put a huge surge of water behind Death Arms and flung him through so that his punch had more power behind it, that could probably do something. And then if Cammy Woods was behind him out of the fire and pushed against him, so there were the 2 strengths going towards, and then maybe if Mount Lady got somewhere in front of them where the civilians are, where she could be massive, and if he went upwards she could catch him above the building without destroying it, maybe then they would. But then at least they'd be trying, they'd be doing something.
Yeah, like, they were very quick to just, like, admit defeat or, like, partial defeat. So a certain character would fail you, but all for not being good enough heroes. But they're still good.
So then we see All Might, and he's saying that he's pathetic. he made a rookie mistake right after he lectured Izuku. It's his fault, but the sludge monster's there. We then have an episode break. I like that the episode breaks don't have any miscellaneous information in the middle of them.
He just kind of does like electronic soundish.
And then we see Izuku, and he is thinking about all the people who told him that he couldn't do it. And it seems that now, after All Might's told him, he's finally given up. And he's saying, why? I've been kidding myself. I can't do this. Why have I been trying all the time? And then he realised that he's got to the fight, and he thinks that he must have subconsciously just walked there without realising. He sees what's going on, and he blames...
Oh, when he blames himself, that gives me war flashbacks to Hunter x Hunter, because it's my fault. Whenever it's said in anime, it's always like a gut punch. Yeah. Always.
So then we see he gets there, and he starts blaming himself. So just as All Might is blaming himself for the situation, Izuku's blaming himself as well. He's saying that it's his fault that All Might dropped the sludge monster and he took up so much of his time. And it's just a good comparison, because other characters, probably Bakugo, he would definitely be blaming the other person. He would never think it's his fault. But both All Might and Izuku are blaming themselves. We then see some onlookers. They're right in front of All Might in his skeletal form. Obviously don't realise it's him. They're discussing All Might. They're saying, why isn't he there? He was fighting that villain earlier. He should have done something. Why is he not there now? Izuku and All Might both continue to doubt themselves. But then as Izuku realises that it's Bakugo, and we see some horrendous image of him merging with the sludge monster, Izuku then just runs off. He runs straight to the villain. He doesn't stop. He starts like clawing at him. Bakugo says, why are you here? What are you doing? He's like, I can't stop. My legs are going on their own. I can't just let you die. And Bakugo is not accepting his help as Izuku just cries and claws.
Yeah. I like that when he throws the backpack, he manages to hit the sludge villain in the eye. Like, good job.
Great aim. All Might is then spurred into action. And he says that he wasn't living up to his own ideals that he'd just been preaching. He destroys the villain and creates a big whirlwind up in the air. So then the onlookers are just dumbfounded. They don't say anything because All Might's strong punch creating the whirlwind has also changed the weather, and it's now raining. The crowd then, after a moment, start to rejoice. We then learn that the sludge is all collected and the villain is arrested, and we get a picture of our four main heroes, minus All Might. So Backdraft, Death Arms, Mount Lady and Cammy Woods are standing in front of the police in the pictures, and they're saluting the police who are saluting them back. I don't know why.
I think saluting is kind of just like we did a kind of like recognizing, like honoring somebody. We don't do it a lot in Canada. I think it's just like they're all professionals, so I guess it's kind of like, yes, job done.
That makes sense, because the only reason that the military salutes in Britain is you'll salute to an officer or the statue that we have, the unmarked grave in London, but you'll only do that because the officers have the commission of the Queen, so you're showing your respect to the Queen, and obviously you salute to the royal family, but no one else. You would never salute to anyone else for any other reason, because you only salute to the royal family or something that their blessing, nothing else.
I guess they're all like professionals, or they're all like they're officers of the law, and then they're officers of justice or whatever. So that's kind of it. I never really thought of it before. That's cool.
And then we find out that while Izuku was told off, Bakugo was congratulated, and we see that the ones that are telling off Izuku is Death Arms and Cammy Woods, and Bakugo is being congratulated by the two nameless heroes. And I quite liked that, because it shows that the capable, like the ones, even though they didn't say Bakugo or really try, well, Death Arms did try, but the ones that did the most, Death Arms and Cammy Woods, are the ones that are still being heroes, and they're still reprimanding Izuku, because he did try and do a good thing, but he put himself in danger. So they are doing the right thing by telling him off, and yet the two heroes that did absolutely nothing are the ones that are in front of the camera saying how great Bakugo is.
And like Bakugo made it harder for everybody. Like, I guess its explosions made it so we could like live, and made it harder for the sludge villain, but it also made it harder for the heroes to get to him.
I mean, I don't know how much of those explosions were Bakugo or if they were the sludge villain, because the sludge villain was saying like, oh, I've got a great body here, this power's wonderful, I can do so much of it.
I think it was Bakugo fighting back, but maybe I think you're right though, that maybe it was some of the sludge villain.
It was probably both. I don't know why I'm trying to support Bakugo. He's such an arse.
Yeah, he's just, I don't know. I'm trying to turn around on Bakugo, because, like, later on in the series I like him more, but it's hard to like beginning Bakugo, even though some people do. Just, I'm not like a Bakugo hater or anything. He just, like, annoys me.
Yeah, and he's supposed to. He's really irredeemable at this point. We then see Izuku, who's walking home. He's thinking about All Might, saying that he didn't get a chance to thank him, but he'll go on the website and send him a message. He's so sweet and thoughtful. Bakugo then runs up to him to berate him. No thank yous, he says. Why did you help me? You shouldn't have done. Just so you know, you can't look down on me now. I didn't need you there. And I guess that he had to run up and tell Izuku that he can't look down on him is interesting in his character, because even Izuku's like, why are you here? Why are you saying this? Because he runs up to him, says that, and then runs off again. So that's obviously not where he lives.
And, like, also, when he spins away from Deku, it makes, like, a Looney Tune noise. Where he goes, like, whoop, and then he walks away with his legs out like a punk. He's just like, I gotta walk like a cowboy to live.
It's really strange, but I guess it does show bits of his character. Some foreshadowing for his character and how he sees Izuku.
Cowboy Bakugo!
Such an arse. Yep. Izuku then says that he's like, I need to get back to giving up on my dreams. So heartbreaking. Like, he needs to put time in his diary for that.
But All Might slides into his DMs with a fear.
He comes up in his muscular form. He goes on a little bit of a spiel, but then he interrupts it by vomiting blood and turning into his skinny form.
Yeah.
Izuku's taken aback, but All Might says thank you for spurring him into action. If he hadn't met Izuku first and heard his story before Izuku ran in, he probably wouldn't have done. Izuku interrupts him to apologise. He said that it's his fault, there were sludge villains anyway, and he took up a lot of All Might's time. All Might says that he disagrees. He was inspired by the story of someone that had no quirk and yet wanted to be a hero so badly, and went in acting without thinking, even though he knew that Izuku didn't have a quirk, and if he hadn't heard that from Izuku before he saw him running in, he probably wouldn't have intervened. He'd stayed in the crowd. He wouldn't have pushed himself to his limits to try and save him.
And he would have just become like a man in a bodysuit, all talk.
Yeah. Izuku then, I put that he super cries. I think this is the first time we see him super cry. He cries so much that he bends forward as if like the weight of his tears are too much for his little face.
Because he knows what's coming. He's remembering his mom's words and he's like, he's so happy.
Oh. And as he's crying and he's thinking his mom's words, All Might tells him that he too can become a hero. Da, da, da. And we have the narrator come in and say, oh, by the way, this is the story of how I became the world's greatest hero.
Hooray! And dreams can become reality. And I just wonder, like, Deku is kind of unreliable narrator, like you mentioned back at the beginning. So, like, I wonder, what does it mean to be the greatest hero? Is that number one? Is that saving the most people?
Yeah, I guess the way that we find out later that the hero boards are created is it's all of those put together. Yeah, we can't trust the narrator.
There are very good, like, first two episodes. Like, the first episode, when I was trying to write the notes, it took me, like, forever, because I kept, like, stopping and starting, and it kind of flowed a lot better, because a lot of it at the beginning was kind of, like, info dumping, like, telling us stuff, but it did it in, like, a really cool way. It had some nice imagery in it, and, like, the second episode goes really fast. It's a lot more, like, action, so it kind of pairs up well, like, information, kind of building up the characters, and in the second episode, it kind of, like, lets them loose a little bit. So my notes for the second episode were also pretty short, because not that much happens, but it's still, like, an interesting episode.
The only thing that I wanted to mention is that I like that at the end of all the chapters, we start to get sketches from Horikoshi of the characters in, like, their normal clothes and a little bit about them. And the first one we get is All Might, and I kind of wish that we had that information, you know, at the end of the episodes. Like, if they just showed a brief overview and told us some bits about them, I think that would be interesting. But hey ho, it doesn't say his name. It just says All Might. Yeah, and it's got a question mark for the age. Birthday. We get his height. We get his favourite things, which is Yakushumi, cedars, and movies, and a little bit of behind the scenes. if anyone is just reading the anime and wants to read the manga, this is a great time to get into it. Because Viz are doing a 30-day, 33 chapters. So now would be a great time to just log in. You get a month free subscription. It's just a great time to start reading, that's it.
But, like, especially we mentioned before, like, the first chapter is, like, 40 pages long. And the art of the manga is amazing. So, like, you're getting a lot of your money's, or you're getting a lot of your not money's worth because you're not paying anything. And you're getting, like, the first chapter is 40 pages, and the rest are, like, normal length. But it's definitely worth checking out.
It runs you through to the, so from chapter 1 to chapter 30, that runs you through to the sports festival. So you get all of USJ, and then you get the cavalry battle. So it's a lot of information that's in these 30 chapters, so it's good to do.
Oh, yeah. That's around I started being week to week at, like, chapter 36. I went back and, like...
Okay, spoiler section, sorry? Okay, so now we're going to go from our anime review, and we're going to talk about what we know with the anime now. So if you are an anime-only viewer, stop listening.
Spoilers!
I only have a few notes on here. So the first one is about the Doctor. And now, I hadn't realised before how creepy he does look. And he does look very creepy, and we know that there is a doctor who is helping them, and it looks like the doctor's a paediatrician from the outside perspective of his building that we saw. It makes sense as well with if we find out that the winged guy, the winged groupie of Bakugo, has been taken, because that would also tie on and lead to, it was this doctor, if this is like the paediatrician for that area.
Yeah, and I was looking at the wiki. Apparently, the doctor is the grandfather or something of the winged kid.
Ooh, oh god, it's gotta be awful if he uses him.
So that makes it, like, worse. And, like, I guess people aren't aware, at one point in the volumes, someone asked Horikoshi if, like, oh, why did the winged Nomu pick up Deku specifically? And then Horikoshi just replied with, explain more about it later, but remember this kid? Or something along that line, and it showed the kid with, like, the bat wings. It didn't say anything, but it kind of implied that it's because the kid recognized Deku. And we still haven't really touched on it, so I do wonder, is, like, that, people are thinking maybe that the doctor stole Deku's quirk or something and gave it to All For One. I don't want that much.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I like Deku being quirkless. If he did get his power taken away, I don't want it to be like, he had a super powerful quirk. I would just hope it's like, oh, he had, like, some firepower and the guy was just siphoning quirks for the hell of it, just in case there was a good one.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he had, like, a crappy quirk like the rest of the other kids in his class who can just, like, pull out their eyes or, I don't know, create lots of hair.
Exactly. One note, at, like, the end of the second episode, it made me think so much of the All For One fight, and also when, at the training camp, when Deku was, like, reaching out to try to save Bakugo, and then Bakugo says back, like, don't come, or, like, stay back. But it's different, though, because, like, Bakugo saying it here, he's more, like, angry and prideful, and then when Bakugo says it at the training camp, his voice cracks, and it's kind of more like, just don't get hurt, maybe, or kind of like, maybe a bit of pride as well. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah. It's hard to know when Bakugo's fighting in the provisional license, and even the civilians that are pretending to be injured, and he shouts them and he's like, you can help yourselves. They're like, does he mean that in a triage way because we're only minor injured, or is he just being, they're not sure. Sometimes it's so hard to tell if he is just being an arse, or if he does actually have some consideration there.
And sometimes it's both.
Sometimes it's both.
He's just an asshole who has, like, a heart that's not necessarily gold. He has a bronze heart or something.
I was just saying, the heroes, when they're trying to fight the sludge monster, it sets up for Stain quite well, because they're not really being heroes. And also with Shigaraki, and we know that he got injured in a fight and people were just walking past him and be like, oh, the heroes will come save him, some will help him. It really shows the mentality of people now that heroes are there. They're kind of getting lazy and they don't want to do the right thing because it's too much effort for them, and someone else will do it. Like, even the heroes are doing that. They're just leaving it to someone else. assuming someone will come along.
And the idea of Mountain Lady just being in it for money, or like hinting at that, also comes into play with Stain and being like, those aren't proper heroes.
No.
But they're still saving people, I guess. Oh, and also, are you familiar with Tiger and Bunny at all?
No.
That's it's a superhero one where people randomly have powers, and then they're like, some of the heroes are sponsored by like Pepsi and stuff, and that's how they make their money. So it's just, you get some like really funny, like interesting stuff. I think there's one guy who's like, his like Batmobile is just like covered in ads for stuff, and it's like, however you make your money.
Yeah. I guess there is stuff like that in Hero Academia, because I forget her name, the one with the snakes on her head that Momo and Kendo intern with, she makes a lot of her money from doing public TV appearances, and people have got their own marketing team and they set out like they give out toys and stuff, don't they? So I guess they do make their money other ways.
I know at the end of this fight, when All Might does the like fist up pose, it really made me think of the end of the All for One fight, because he does the same thing, but then he deflates. So it's kind of like it's his thing.
I made a note of I think I put it in the episode review a little bit. When Bakugo runs to Izuku and berates him, says that he can't look down on him. That makes a lot more sense after we see Bakugo and Izuku's big fight after the provisional license exam, and how Bakugo sees Izuku completely different, in such a warped view that many other people would never see.
Yeah, he thinks that Deku's looking down at him, that he was hiding a quirk. It's just funny, like, the first 2 episodes, we don't even get into, like, All Might giving him the quirk. All Might's like, oh, yes, you can be a hero. And then later he's like, oh, but I need to, like, pass on a quirk to you. And then even later on, we learn that All Might is quirkless as well, and that's kind of why it pushed him as well, that he kind of thought back, like, that's what I used to be like.
It's all set up so well. I love that he doesn't give all the information straight away. I'd like to see Shoji work with death arms.
Oh! They could both be like strong arm people.
Yeah, though Shoji uses his he sprouts eyes and mouths and things off his limbs, so it's not the same, but still strong arms and multi arms.
I found it funny that like one of the guys was like, oh, you should like intern at my, or like not intern, you should be like a sidekick at my place. But then I was like, oh, I wonder, like, do we know where Bakugo like interned? But he interns at Best Jeanist. And I wonder, like, I think it's probably because like all those people who were like, oh, you're cool, got scared off by Bakugo.
Yeah.
So now like only Best Jeanist was like, okay, I'm gonna try to control this wild child.
He had a lot of people still requested Bakugo though, didn't they? But he just chose Best Jeanist because he was so high up, and then he got there and was like, you're a nerd.
I think it was that like the requests were kind of flipped, that like there were more requests for Todoroki, but Bakugo still got a lot as well. And then Midoriya didn't get any because people were also scared of the kid going around breaking his hand.
Yeah, I wouldn't put in for Izuku.
I just want to address, like, I kind of flip between Midoriya or like Deku sometimes. Because, like, I think, like, when I first started reading the manga, I, like, got confused sometimes because I, like, would forget he was Midoriya because I'm dumb and I just thought of him as Deku. But now I kind of, like, flip between 3 names for him. It's basically whatever he's being addressed as in the scene. I'm just like, he's all 3.
Yeah, I think in the last episode we just called him Midoriya, and I've been calling him Izuku the whole way through. I think we both do it.
Oh, I flip between. Sometimes I call him Deku, other times I call him Midoriya, sometimes I do Izuku. I don't do Izuku as much, but I think I usually call him Deku, because that's what I'm more used to. And right now, Deku is just like a bullying name.
Yeah, but we don't, for like the, we don't know what Deku means yet.
Oh yeah, da-da-da-da.
So I'm looking forward to watching the dubbed and finding out how they explain the name meaning.
I think what they do is like, oh, it sounds like the Japanese word. I think they do something like that.
Okay.
And I just find it funny, like, Deku for some reason, like, still thinks of Bakugo as being his childhood friend. And he's like, he wasn't your childhood friend. He's your childhood bully. There's a difference. He's your friend when you were like 4.
They're very bold 4-year-olds. For all these memories.
He still calls him Kachan. It's like, why? He's an asshole. Just call him Bakugo. He's not your friend. But I guess, like, it was a lot of, like, big stuff. So I think, like, it would probably stick with you, because that was, like... It's also when he learned he was quirkless, too, so I guess it's all centered around that.
Yeah, big moment in his life. That's a good point.
Poor Midoriya. Let's end it here. I believe in you, Oh, no! I believe in you, Bakugo. I believe in you, Midoriya. You can do it.
Thank you for listening. I'm Sophie. You can follow me on @ChoppersLeftAntler.
Follow me at Sniper of My Heart on Twitter. I'm Kendra.
You can follow up the podcast on Twitter at MHA Pod, or you can email us at myheropod@gmail.com.
No one's messaging us. Tweet us something, you bastards. Tweet at us. We're so lonely. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance in the first episode. That's the only apology you're gonna get. But also, I am sorry. So let's go to one final note. Go beyond plus ultra. Shit steaks for breakfast. I don't know.